Let's move this over a little bit. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Let me see. Get you live here. We're live here. Let me get you set up. How's everybody doing on this wonderful Monday afternoon? We're back to our live stream schedule. So, hello, welcome. I got a bunch of messages. Nick, where the hell were you? What happened? I didn't realize you guys actually cared about these live streams that much. So, welcome. We're back here on our daily. I want to say daily. Maybe you see me a little bit more daily because it is Black Friday and I gotta sit there and holler at all my people. So hello everybody, welcome in. So Radiant, oh, you're over here on YouTube today too. What you doing over here on YouTube? I'm over here on Instagram. You tuning in on YouTube as well. I see you over here. What you on both systems? You know, this the true OGs over here. I really like it. So one of the things I really want to talk about today is because I think it's very important is how the hell do you get started after maybe you have some sort of a setback, maybe you've had some sort of an injury, maybe you're dealing with some sort of life issue, right? How do we get ourselves back into routine after something like that happens to us, right? Because a lot of you guys message me, Nick, I just had surgery. Nick, my knee hurts. Nick, my ankle hurts. I know on YouTube we have a whole bunch of my ankle community, right? Everybody's like, how did you start walking again? You know, take one step. Or some people are like, Nick, how do I just even get started again? Right? How the hell do I even just make it a routine? And I don't even know where to start. I'm getting all this information. I see this person's telling me not to eat this. I don't even know how to get started again. And so I'm having surgery on December 3rd. This is gonna be perfect for you. But what you having surgery on? Alex, what you going under? What you going under the knife for? So I know for me, right, I came back from ankle surgery. A lot of you guys have known my story from having an external fixator attached to my leg to having it gallbladder removal. Oh my goodness. Well, actually, that's a decent surgery nowadays. They don't have to chop you up anymore. They can go invasive and just boop, boop, and it's pretty straightforward. So I wish you the best in your surgery. So I'm actually talking to you with this live stream. So listen up, right? Is that whenever we get into a particular issue, right? Surgery, you're going through gallbladder surgery. It's all this unknown, right? It's all this like, how the hell do I, like, where do I start, right? You get the anxiety of right before surgery. And let's just kind of rewind this because this is where, for me, I've had massive ankle surgery, right? I have 14 screws in my ankle. I never thought I was going to be able to walk again, and I still don't walk properly, right? Let's be real. I can't run. I can't do a lot of the things that I like to do. I can't stand for many hours of a day. I can't really do a lot of the things that I like to do. Standing at concerts are one of my favorite things. Can't do it anymore. And so I want you to think about before that, whenever you are able-bodied, right? Whenever we're able and we make these excuses for ourselves, I'll do this one day, I'll do this the other day, but then whenever we get hurt or whenever we have a setback, all of a sudden we feel like, I gotta get back. I can't wait to get back to where I was beforehand. So I want you to think of that energy, right? Of like, I can't wait to get back. And I want you to muster that up whenever you do get the surgery because you're going to have to attach it to a why, right? And a lot of us, whenever we're trying to come back, and this is the very first thing, is attaching your recovery or your comeback essentially to a why. Why do you want to do this? Why the hell do you want to come back? What is it that you're coming back to, right? What is it that you want to get stronger for? What is it that you want to start a health journey? Like, why why now, right? What does it matter? You've tried before, but why now, right? And you really want you to think about that because once we start gaming, how we doing, Jay? Once we start thinking about the why, we can attach ourselves and know that this is what's driving us rather than these wishes that we keep putting outside in our head that may or may not, if we take action, may or may not come true. So I want you to think, very first thing is whenever you're trying to get back on track after a setback, what's your why? What's your why? Right? What's your why right now? Right? Exactly. Dealing with the mental right now. Oh my gosh, I've been there, right? I've been there. I know exactly what that is. You think of everything negatively. You think of everything that can go wrong. And the worst part is everything that can go wrong, if you think about it, will go wrong if you manifest in that, right? And so it's really trying to focus on the little positives. I sat in just a quick recap, and this is why the why is so important, is because I sat in bed with an external fixator on my leg. You can check my page. It was basically a metal device that they drilled into the bone, right? So they drilled into my femur, into my tibia. I had one that went through my Achilles. They set my ankle in place, and I had to have that in there for 2 weeks. I had to sit with this thing in my leg. I mean, just drilled into my leg for 2 weeks. Now, I couldn't bathe. I couldn't go into the shower. I had to get people to wipe me down. It was embarrassing, right? I mean, it was. But the thing is, the mental started breaking down. The mental started going to a place where it started wondering, oh my God, am I ever going to be able to walk again? Am I ever going to be able to come back? And the thing is when we manifest into that setback, essentially, we can never really see the comeback. We can never really see the future. So I want you to think, that's why it's so important to find your why. Why do you want to get yourself back? Why do you want to get yourself healthy? Why do you want to do this, right? Because once you attach that, then you can progress to the next stage, which is your action, right? Which is actually saying, all right, now that I'm ready, what is it that I'm going to do? What am I going to do? I can do the bands. Okay, I can do that. All right, I have to sit in bed for a little bit of time. All right, so maybe I start doing just some simple arm raises, right? Maybe I get the band that Nick's been yelling at me about right here, and I do these little pull aparts, right? And I just do these, and I do these little lat pull downs, right? And you think that these little movements aren't doing shit for you, but then you realize that it's actually what's keeping your muscles alive. It's what's keeping your muscles going, keeping the energy and the motor neurons and all the good stuff in there. And so when you start to attach it to the why, then you can take action, right? And so once we start taking that and really just making that little bit of a mindset shift, right? Is just like, okay, it happened. There's no reason to think about it. Let's start to move forward and let's see what happens. Because when it all comes down to it, like setbacks, I think everybody comes through a setbacks, but we have to realize that that's all part of the journey. Let me know in the chat if you've ever started something that you thought like this is really worthwhile, and it always something happens, right? You work on your car, for instance, maybe back in the day, and something would have happened where you didn't have the right tool, or like, it's just like, it's always something, right? D, hey, thank you, how we doing today? But it's always something, right? But then when we think of like other setbacks of, like when we think of health and fitness, or like when we go to start taking action, maybe it's, we don't have time for this, right? Maybe you're burned out, and then you start thinking of all these different things that prevent you from taking said action. And I want you to think of just small little things. It's like, once you attach it to your why, I want you to think, what are the little action things that you could start to do, right? Yep, start back to work and then having setbacks. That's how it always is. That's right, how it always is. You get back into your normal position, and then next thing you know, something else happens to you. And I always say that when that happens to you, it's life throwing you the curveball and seeing how bad do you really want to come back? How bad do you really want to come back? And the thing is if you keep taking those and you keep swinging, maybe you're striking out, but it's those misses that are going to help you. Eventually, you're going to hit that one, and that's going to be the one that helps and propels you to get you going. And that's why we just keep taking action steps, even though if you fall straight on your face, right? And I want you to think of the analogy of like if you go fishing, right? If you're going fishing and you're only fishing with one rod, you only have one chance to catch a fish. But if you go fishing and you have 4 other rods that are out there with bait, you have other chances of catching this fish, right? And that's the thing with action, right? Like if you take action, one step, another step, another step, another step, eventually you're going to catch that fish, right? You're going to get what you're looking for, but we have to just start with the little things. What is that, right? And so the first thing is we have our why. And then once we find our why, we're able to propel that and start to figure out what action steps do you need to take to get to point A to point B. Now for some, I get, Nick, I don't have time. Nick, I don't have a schedule. Nick, I don't even know where the fuck to start. Like, let's be real. A lot of us are on this, right? I get hundreds of messages a day. Nick, I just need some help. I need some guidance, right? And the thing is we start to feel overwhelmed. That's the real position, right? It's not like, yes, okay, every time we've had a setback, but every time you get started, you almost feel overwhelmed. That's you right now. Anita, I know it, right? And that's just how a lot of it is that when we get overwhelmed, we don't know where to go because we know we got to do so many different things. We got to do this, I got to do that, I know I should do this, and now it's the holidays. Shit, now you got the stressors on this, and then now you're trying to put all this weight onto your shoulders, and then what ends up happening is you don't do anything because it's analysis paralysis. And once you start to realize that that's the actual issue, is that you got a lot of things going on. This is actually me right now. Is that there's so many things going on. I'm launching this new Black Friday special. I got a new program launch that I just launched. I got clients that, I'm trying to help. I got people that I want to see. I got a trip, like there's all these things. I got live streams that I want to do. And you got to realize that they're all going to be there waiting for you. You just have to take action and choose one. What is it? Right now, do that one thing. And then you do it, and then you go to the next thing. And if that isn't good enough, you look and see how many tasks do you have and just write them all out. And then pick the most important one to you at this important time, and then you stick and you go and do that. And then you only do that until it's accomplished. Once you do that, then you go on to the next one. And then maybe you start to see, okay, maybe you start to get overwhelmed, but at least you were able to start something and finish it. And that's something that's very important. I want you to think of that. What is one simple thing that you can start and try to see if you can get some sort of win from it, right? And so let's think about that. What's one thing right now, and I'll give you a second. What's one thing that you've been pushing off? Coming in now, it's going to be December here. It's going to be Thanksgiving. Maybe it's Thanksgiving. Let's kind of think of all my American people. We know Thanksgiving's coming up, right? So we got all this pressure. You're going to see people you don't want to see. You got people you do want to see, and then maybe you got people you want to see for like 10 minutes, and then you just like, okay, let's get the hell out of here, right? So we're going to have to be dealing with all these different emotions. It's going to set you back from the things that you don't want to do. But say you're somebody who's cooking, right? So say you're somebody, you're hosting the Thanksgiving at your house. You're not just going to try to cook everything all at once, right? You're going to try to cook it one thing at a time. You're going to try to place it. Okay, I'm not going to cook I'm going to start the turkey early, right? Because you're not going to start the turkey in the middle of the day. You want to start it early, right? So it's just like you do that on other things where you pick and choose which is going to work at a specific time. But we don't do that for our health, or we don't do that whenever we're setting back, or we don't do that whenever we're doing a comeback, right? But when it comes down to cooking or something like that, we have the skills in us. That's the problem, right? A lot of us, we don't think that we have the skill in us, and we're just like, oh my God, we're overwhelmed. But let's take the same approach that we would do to cooking Thanksgiving dinner to our damn health. Start the turkey early, right? Start your walks early. Get your shit out of the way early so that you don't have to worry about it at the rest of the day, and you have to think, oh my God, what excuses do I got to put on to myself to get myself back on track, right? Just knock it off in the morning. Dude, done. It's over with, right? Can't do it in the morning? Well, all right. Well, then we think of other issues, right? We think of other things that come up. And these are the things that you really have to consider, especially whenever you had a setback and you're trying to just muster everything, because when you have a setback, you want to come back and do it all at once. And so we have to really find, what is that one thing that you've been preventing you from doing? What is that one thing that you really want to do, but you just like, one day, right? Just another, someday, right? What do I always say? It's either day one or one day you get to decide. And it really is, right? Like, you get to decide what day is that going to be. And that's why it's so important right now, and that's why I even got this Black Friday special and just giving people free December, is that, look, most people won't even take action for this, right? Most people will say, oh my gosh, actually, I already had like 10 people take action, but I got 90,000 people on this, on my Instagram page. And I bet I will get maybe 20 people to actually take action. That, wow, if I give you 25% off your 6-month coaching program and I give you December for free, what is holding you back? Right? But the realization is it's ourselves. Ourselves, we hold ourselves back because we put these expectations onto ourselves that are so unrealistic that whenever you get an offer or whenever you see everything right now, but when it comes down to investing in our health, we don't care. But when we see that new deal over on Black Friday, we don't have any, what is that? A new KitchenAid? Oh yeah, let's get it, right? And you might use it 3 times in a whole year. But you don't mind that deal. But when you have something that actually is tangible for yourself to improve ourselves, we never do it. We never take that action. And so this is why we have to think about what is that one thing that we've been preventing, the thing that we've been holding off, like our health, like our fitness, because let's be real, we don't think about it at this time of the year, is why don't we start applying that same concept of making the turkey and making Thanksgiving dinner to our health? What is that one thing that you need to start early and start doing? Right? Because when we break it down like that, we realize that it's not about like the overhaul and the overwhelm. That's honestly why I made my new program, the Core 5 Blueprint, because each week we're adding in a specific thing. I call it the first 5. In 5 weeks, you're learning how to figure out your food, figure out your exercise, how much protein, how many steps can you do, what is in your realm, right? Not necessarily me saying, hey, Clinton, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Hey, Terry, you need to do this or else. No, what is in your capability? What can you do now? And then let's work together and figure out if this is even something that's going to be manageable for you. Okay, then we dial it in, right? The whole goal for this, and especially the whole goal for you to come back from a setback, is to take control of your situation, right? When we look at it, because when we have a setback, whether it's an injury, a health injury, maybe it's your health, maybe you get surgery, whatever it is, whatever setback it is, we want to come back. We always have that mindset to go like a million miles an hour to try to get ourselves back to where we were beforehand. But in that process, we end up either hurting ourselves, end up forgetting some tips along the way, or we just kind of just go throughout the motions and maybe we don't actually come back to the person that we were beforehand, right? And a lot of that time, it stems from finding joy in all of this, right? Finding the damn joy. I know that's one of the problems that I always fall into is like, why did you start this in the first place? Why did you start your health journey? Why did you start any of these? Why did you start anything that is worthwhile in the first place? You gotta find joy in the things that you do. You can't make it more of like a burden, right? Because then you're never gonna want to do it, or you're never gonna want to make it. You're never gonna take action with it, essentially. So say you're somebody who's gone through surgery. You've went through PT, maybe they failed you. Maybe you didn't get everything that you needed out of it. And then now you're like, oh, well, woe is me. I'm going to be broken. I'm going to be broken Carolyn, or I'm going to be broken Rolly, No. Or we just go and say, screw this. Let me find joy in trying to get myself back together. I'm going to do these random exercises that he has me doing for my ass. He has me lifting a leg and pulsing over here and doing this and doing that. But you know what? Holy hell, I actually feel my glutes for the first time. That's one of the things that we got in the challenge. That if you were in part of the 4-day challenge, holler at me. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the challenge. But I got a lot of messages like, Nick, I was skeptical of using those bands, but I never knew they would work like that. I never actually felt my muscles turn on like that, like the way they did. We had one of the participants. She actually lost 3.5 pounds in the 4 days. By just following macros, doing workouts, going for a walk, doing exercise, and it's just crazy that you can see what happens when you take control of yourself. Now, hopefully you've been able, if you're still in here, hopefully you've been able to maintain that and maybe even a little bit more. But like the thing is like in 4 days, when you find joy in the movement of it, what ends up happening is you release that cortisol. And so whenever you release that cortisol, that you're holding on to all that tension and all that stress, and you find joy and you have something to look forward to, this is one of the biggest problems that I see, especially in my women who are in their 40s, some of my clients, in their 40s and 50s, just getting into menopause, perimenopause. And one of the problems is like the hormones. Nick, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't do any of this stuff. But what ends up happening is we don't realize that, especially for women at this age, you have to have something to look forward to. Because if you don't have something to look forward to, you're going to be stressed the fuck out. And the reason I know that is because that's what research has shown. Women early on basically in the morning and early on in the day have high levels of cortisol. We talked about this a little bit during our 4-day challenge. But what you really want to think about is finding joy in moving, having something that is accessible for you, having something that is something you look forward to, having it scheduled into your day. You realize this is what's going to help you go from setback to comeback, right? And this goes for anybody, not even some of my ladies, right? Is that if you schedule this into your day, you go from having a setback into a comeback. And the thing is like, I think a lot of times too, when we get into going from that setback to the comeback, is we try to come back to the place we were beforehand, right? We aim to like pick up right where we left off, and that's where a lot of us get hurt. It's where a lot of us get hurt, and that's why it's so important to have a coach, have a mentor, have somebody by your side so they can say, "Hey, no, let's not do that." I don't know how many clients of mine said, "Nick, thank God we hired you, because I would have went back to the gym lifting like I was 16, lifting like I was 20 again, and I would have broke my damn back." And a lot of times that's what ends up happening, because what you really want to do is, instead of focusing on where you left off, you want to focus on where you are now, right? When you think about it, like, don't focus on where you left off and whatever happened. That's no fun, right? I always say the eyes are on the front of your head for a reason. They're not on the back of your head to keep going backwards. You go forward. So why are we going to try to aim to be where we left off? That's already happened. Fuck that. We got to focus on where we are now and where we want to go. And that's the mentality, right? That's how you get yourself on track after a comeback or after a setback, right? When we start putting I was just about to say, when we start putting ourselves last, that's whenever we start to see the negative outcome of ourselves, right? And Jenny, yeah, you say, I'm over 40 and I've always put myself last. When I started investing in myself, it became better for my family, friends, and coworkers. See, Jenny? True example of what it is to be a badass in the community, right? And showing up for yourself, right? You show up for yourself, and a lot of times when we do that, we feel selfish, right? If you go ahead and maybe you go and take the time out for yourself, maybe you do the things, you go out, you go exercise, and oh, I should have been back, I should have been doing this, I got on the phone calls, the kids are yelling at me and all this other stuff, I should have been this, I should have. That's the problem, is that we always have this mindset of we should have been doing this, we could have been doing this. No, take a chill pill, open up and say, all right, this is for me, I gotta go here and do this myself. I know I got a lot of my clients are moms, right? Super moms, juggling 15 tasks a day. They got to cook dinner for the kids, they got to work, they got to do this, they got to do that. And we realize that it's like, oh, I don't have any time to work out. Well, Nick, I just don't have any time. Oh my God, I think I got to do this for the kids. And instead of making it that, you got to be, that's your why. That's why you're working out. That's why you're doing this and spending the half hour you do for workouts, you do for your exercise class, you do for your walks. Because that's your why. That should not be your why can't I, right? That's not the I can't do this because no. I can't do this because I don't have a gym. You know, we working out in the house, right? We turn this bedroom into a gym because I'm working from home, right? I'm coaching everybody online. And so it's hard for me to go to the gym and when I got questions. So it's like you got to look and say, what is my situation? Don't aim to go where you left off. Aim to focus on where you are right now, where you want to go. Think about that. That's actually a good bar. I have to remember that. I just came up with that. Don't think of where you left off. Don't aim, how did I even say it? I already forget it. Don't aim to where you left off. Focus on where you want to be and where you are now. I'll fine tune that. That's going to be one of my new sayings. I'll figure that one out. If somebody knows, then you can kind of go from that. But essentially, once you start realizing that and start visualizing you might actually have some sort of success, or you start visualizing that, there really is there's no end to it, right? You just got to pick yourself back up, take the messy action. You start to realize that, oh my gosh, you do have it in your control, right? And that's a lot of what we do on this page. Right? I try to make do these mindset, these Monday mindsets. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 months now. Actually, it's been like 4 months since we actually done this. But I'm live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. We're actually going to go live tomorrow. I'm going to teach you how to do some Thanksgiving meals. So some Thanksgiving side dishes. If you're interested, holler at me, let me know. I'm going to do a little poll to see. I'm going to do some bread rolls, maybe some sweet treats. But we're going to go live tomorrow. It's going to be like a special food Friday, but it's going to be I don't know. We'll do some play on words for Tuesday. But essentially, it's getting yourself back into some sort of routine, some sort of normalcy, some sort of something, is you have to attach some realistic goals, right? So once we realize that we want to aim to where we want to go, damn, I almost had that. I almost remembered it. I'm gonna have to do it. Ellie and Jeff, yeah, let's go. I know you'll like it, but I always want you to think it's so cliche to say, but when you're going and you're gonna get yourself back on track after a setback, or maybe after just a long, maybe you just haven't focused on yourself for a while. Instead of having you think of everything that you have to do, you know you want to eat better, you know you want to exercise, you know you want to go to the gym, you know you want to do this, you know you want to do that, is focusing on the main thing that comes to mind. So whenever I say, what is that one thing you've been holding back on? Whatever that first thing that comes up to mind, that's the one that you grab that thought, put it down on paper and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to fix. This is going to be me. Because if you could do that, you start to realize, like, okay, you have the power. You're giving yourself the little wins. You're giving yourself the little, dopamine rushes that say, holy shit, I can do this, right? I got this. I could really do this. And I think that's important when you think about it on the long-term goals, right? Because then eventually, if you start making a little bit of progress on the first things that come to mind, what ends up happening is you start kicking ass. And that is essentially why we'll get into my little program that I made was over the last, I would say about 8 years since I've been a coach in person, and again in the last 9 months since I've been an online coach officially, is that there's 5 things that I've normally seen from people when we get started, when you try to get started. A lot of times when you work with a coach, or you work with a professional, or you work with anybody, a lot of times they end up throwing everything at you at once, right? You got to do this, you got to track all your meals, you got to do all this food, you got to do it 15,000 steps, you got to do all this stuff. And when we get there, it becomes overwhelming, right? It really becomes overwhelming. And a lot of times, not only does it become overwhelming, it becomes something that is unrealistic. And let me know in the chat if you've ever been to like an LA Fitness. I've been to LA Fitness. I was a master trainer at LA Fitness when I was in college. People still say, like, Nick, you're in your 20s. You don't even look like 35 years old. I got some gray hairs in my hair. We're getting there. But one of the things that I noticed in not only working from that population, but working from people in home, working at their homes, is that we always start with too much. We always start trying to do too much. And that's why I made this specific programming. I call it the first 5, essentially. It's called the Core 5 Blueprint, but I call it the first 5, is that we layer in each aspects throughout the week, right? And this is something that I'll explain it to you, and you could just do it on your own. But I want you to think of that one thing that we were just talking about, that one thing that you pulled from your mind, make that the focus for the week. In the second week, you're still going to do that same thing, but you're going to add on another habit. And then once you've had that, you've had 2 consecutive weeks of working with those 2 habits, then you add on another one, right? And you don't move on to another habit unless you've had 2 consecutive weeks where you feel like you got a good grasp on it. And once you can start to do that, now you're starting to learn behaviors, right? And so a lot of times people say, well, behavior change, what is behavior change? What is that? What does that even mean? And when we think about behavior change and all the theories that you can ever come up with, is that nothing matters unless they stick, unless they mean something to you, right? Unless you attach it to a why, like I said in the very beginning. Anytime you're going to try to come back from a setback, you have to attach it to some sort of why. Because if you don't attach it to some sort of why, the habits that you build along the way aren't going to mean anything for you. They're not going to mean anything for you. You're not going to care about them. You're not going to give it the attention that you actually need and it deserves. And a lot of times you waste your time, and a lot of times you'll waste anybody else's time. You go through a coach, you go through a mentor, you hire somebody. But if they sit there and you try to do too much at once and you're not actually habit stacking, what ends up happening is you fall back, and then you say, this didn't work for me, and then you go into yourself, and then you fall out, right? So I want you to think, whenever you're getting yourself into a specific comeback, is that you take it one thing, 1 week at a time. Take the first 5 approach. First 5 weeks. What can you do? What can you change? What can be adapted? What went well? What didn't go well? What could you do better? And if you start to ask yourself, and you start to question these things, you stare at and even if you stare at the mirror, you say, hey, well, what the fuck? What am I doing? What could go better? What is better? Right? That is where you make the real growth, because now you're actually looking at things constructively rather than just keep throwing and adding stuff onto your plate. So once you realize that you actually have a chance to take control of your health and get yourself back on track, especially after some sort of setback, you realize that, oh shit, this is actually, I won't say easy, but it's kind of easy. You have it in your control. So I want you to think about that for these next couple days, these next couple weeks, as you go in through the holiday season, remembering that, yes, it's going to be busy. Yes, you're going to have setbacks. Yes, they're going to be maybe debilitating. But you can get yourself back on track if you just pick one thing and focus on one thing at a time. Whether that's health, whether that's steps, whether that's eating better, whether that's exercising, whatever that is, you can get yourself back on track by attaching your one thing to a why. Once you attach that one thing that you need to do to the why, you start to realize that, oh my gosh, this is now possible. Once you start to realize that this is now possible, then you can start to add those other habits on. And then, guess what? Now you're getting yourself back on track. And that, my friends, is how easy it is. But it's not that easy, right? It's that easy, but it's not that easy. And the reason I say that is because I had to do it multiple times. Multiple times. And this is the way that I have found that has helped not only me, but hundreds of other clients get themselves back on track. Is by stacking your wins, stacking it on a week-by-week basis, every 5 weeks, looking at what is actually going on and seeing what did I do better, what did I do wrong, what can I do, what needs improved, where am I going wrong? And if you could do that, you can start to see results. I mean, that's just how it is. And if anybody is really stuck and it's like, Nick, I've tried, I just don't have any, I just need some damn help. Well, you reach out to me and we'll get you going, get you on the Core 5, we'll get you into my private app, we'll get you your personalized workouts, your personalized meals, your personalized macro count, and we'll get you set up for success. Because again, you don't want to be sitting there trying to figure it out yourself if you have the people around you that want to see you succeed. Now, I only work with people who care about their goals more than I care about them. So if you are somebody who actually cares about their goals and actually wants to get help, reach out to me, because then I'll help you. If I care about your goals more than you do, it ain't ever gonna work. It ain't ever gonna work. So that's why you have to find your why, you have to find your reason, and then realize that you need some help. And guess what? There's thousands of other coaches out there, right? Why me? Because I actually care, and that's all that really matters. So if that's one thing, if you guys want to or are interested in joining the community, joining a bunch of my people, and really getting yourself into a position where you actually want to take control and take over your health, come on in. I'd love to have you. And guess what? You'd actually be working with me, not some random shadow coach and some random VA that is just chucking off messages for you. So that's always a plus. That's always the thing. There's all these online coaches, because trust me, I got a bunch of them. I got a bunch of colleagues. They don't even work with any of their clients. You'd be working with me and actually getting yourself actual results. Now, why would you want to work with me? Well, I'm an exercise physiologist. I got 3 degrees in exercise physiology, and I actually want to help you. And I want to show you that you can actually take control of your health just like I did, and see the world is so much better when you start actually doing stuff for yourself and doing some self-improvement. And the thing is if you just keep showing up to this page and keep showing up to the live streams and you keep showing up and doing the exercises, you could get yourself into a place, but you got to take action. So on that note, everyone, hope everyone has a good Monday. Let me know if you got any value from this. Drop a fire, drop a heart, drop anything. We're going to be going live pretty much every day this week. So at 2 p.m., you're going to see me come up. So come on in, join the community, join the comments. Let me know how I can help. And by all means, we're going to be going live tomorrow in the kitchen. We're going back in the kitchen. So we'll see how we do. So make sure you tune into the stories. We're going to do some votes on essentially what we're going to be making. So let me know what you want, and I'll see you tomorrow on our live stream. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, YouTube. How we doing over here, YouTube? All right, so that was our Monday mindset. live stream. We kind of went on a little tangent there. We have nobody in here. Okay, hello. We had nobody. We had 30 people in here. Now we have nobody. So holler at me. I'll see you on the next one.